I think the casting decision and the conversation that's being had around it by multiple sides is honestly indicative of a much larger problem that we have in the entertainment industry and maybe just how society has conversations overall. Hey, what's up, Nerd fam? This is your boy Gershon. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today, we're going to talk about the huge elephant in the room that's been happening all week, and it's about the casting of Ariel being a black woman, right? Like, a lot of people are having an issue with this. And it is not all for the reasons that people are claiming it to be. So, at first, I'm just going to start off, and I want to preface my future statements with this. The things that I'm saying are my opinion. They might not go with yours, but doesn't mean that I don't think you have the right to have your opinion, nor am I, when I critique things, it's not like tearing down the character of the person who has the opinion, it's just critiquing the argument. Maybe I don't agree with the argument, or I don't like the mentality that comes with it, but it's never gonna come at denigrating the human being who's saying it. I hope we can have those type of conversations going forward where we can just disagree with each other and not tear down each other's character. It's sad that I have to preface this, but that's literally how we're having conversations now, especially when it comes to things like this. So let's move forward. My personal opinions on the casting of Ariel, them race swapping her, I don't like it because obviously I actually prefer original characters, which I do have since I was young when it comes to like a lot of the comic book characters and things like that I do support, that I've spoken about on various other videos. But also, it is extremely lazy because what they're doing is they're taking an already established character that has been around, okay, so first since the 1800s in the original iteration, and then the iteration that we are all familiar with is about 33 years old, it's like 1989 or something like that, right? So we know how this character has looked, right? Ariel has looked a certain way, they've marketed her a certain way, promoted, sold toys, merchandise, all that. And that's absolutely fine. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I going, oh, does that mean that mermaids can't be black? No, that's a straw man argument that usually happens when people are just criticizing the fact that the casting decision doesn't match what they've been seeing for a long time. No, I absolutely do think that. I'll get more on that in a second. To be honest, the thing that really gets me about this is this notion that black children need a fictional character to represent themselves, to project their own self-image and self-worth. And that's actually really, really crazy to me because as a person who was once a black child, looking at things and characters of all different ethnicities, I never found my self-worth in them. They didn't raise or lower my self-esteem. So to think that these children now, especially I'm looking at these videos, right? And some of the videos are showing little kids react to the new casting. Oh my God, they weren't even alive for the original one, so they don't even have like a comparison. They don't. They're showing like 4-year-olds and stuff like that. They don't. A lot of the context that's being placed is from their parents. They're raising them to believe that their sense of self starts with the thing that they can't even control, which is their skin color. And I don't agree with that. I don't, especially because it makes it seem like black people cannot compartmentalize and they can't think objectively. They can't resonate with other things that don't look like them. It has to be something surface level. That's almost saying black people are just stupid and simple. And I'm not going to, no, I'm not going to concede to that type of thing because me and a lot of my closest friends, my boy Taylor, Henneth, John, all black men, all into all types of media, nerd media. I'm more into the comics, Henneth is more into anime and manga, my boy John is more into wrestling, and Taylor is a gamer. I mean, we all do a little bit of all, but those are the things that we really look at when it comes to that, right? And the characters that are in it, whether they look similar to us or not, we enjoy thoroughly. So when it comes to this character here and this notion that if we don't race swap, because the thing is, if you want to put original black characters, I'm 1,000% down with that. But it's very strange that Disney really could have spent this time making an original black mermaid character that possibly could have come from a Caribbean island, which is also obviously island-based, it's water-based, so you have a different culture there, or a coastal African country, which would have had a cool cultural backdrop. All they obviously need for these Disney movies is great songs and good costume and character design. That's usually what does it. And the thing is, a lot of people act like those things wouldn't be successful. Why not? Are we saying the same people who are against this casting change also didn't support things like Black Panther or original black character works? Are we saying that? There really isn't a lot of proof behind that, specifically in the movie sphere, right? We're talking about movies. Are we saying they all were like, oh my God, what is Black Panther? We have to not support this film. That didn't happen. And I'm only using that just because it's recent, not because it's the only. And Blade and tons of other things we could talk about. But besides that, what I also want to go into, pardon me, some guy just might have heard it, or some car racing by. Either way, the thing that I really want to go over is not just that, but some of the arguments that I'm seeing online for and against this, which are kind of strange, because on both sides there are some, well, I'll say there's more than one side, but there are people who are polar opposites of each other, and sometimes people can sound absolutely insane arguing for and against this, and a bit hypocritical maybe. I'll be more specific, and I'll get into the specific arguments that are being said. One is, oh, how come, the people who are for it go, how come you guys just want to make it about race? Well, clearly, you're making it about race because you're saying that the race of the character is so important that the children who you're saying that it's for will not be able to get the full experience unless the race reflects theirs. So you cannot point that conversation towards people, like only say, why do you, guy who wants Ariel to remain how she was, you only care about race? But you do, because that's the same argument you're making. So just be careful when saying that, because that same question can be turned on you, because it's clearly important to you. Also, hey, it's a fictional character. Why does it matter to you? Well, the same question can be lobbied towards you. These are all fictional characters. Why do you spend so much time and energy into the race swapping of these characters? You keep on saying, hey, it's fictional, why do you care? However, you seem to care a lot. You said these fictional characters are boosting the very real children's self-esteem and the way they view themselves, and how can they think they can be this without, how can she believe she's a mermaid if she don't see a black mermaid? Whatever the argument is that you're doing, it's fictional. And then there's kind of an extension to that, whereas, the race doesn't matter if it's a fictional character. Let's see where that goes. Because then if someone rebuts by, okay, so let's make a black character white, which they have tons of times. There's a few fictional characters I can put here on the screen that have actually been race swapped on screen, but you didn't know about them, or maybe you just didn't think they were popular enough, so maybe you didn't care, or you didn't know. One of those two, right? So you go from there, and what do they say? Well, they're black, so their blackness is actually part of the character. So, let's just say Black Panther, who we were just talking about just now, who being African and being part of a certain lineage is very important to him actually being, being Black Panther, the actual title just means you have to be from Wakanda, but actually having those powers and all that you have to come from a certain line from that. It is what it is. So, let's take that out. What about Blade? He just has to be a daywalker, right? So, you don't have to be black, right? Make him white. I wouldn't want that. That would be stupid, but according to this argument, we can make him white, we can make Luke Cage white, Falcon, and a litany of other black characters who being black isn't necessarily part of their character. But apparently, it's one of those weird ideology that just eats itself once it gets redirected to the person who actually says it. It's very, very strange, right? Now, something that I've seen on the other side, which is very, very strange, which is black people can't be mermaids because there's no sun underneath, there's no UV exposure. How are they going to be black? And it's like, okay. So now we're at this point where we're trying to use real world science on mythological creatures that don't even exist. This is a very weird stance to have. Because, once again, let me reflect back to a point that I was going to start. I'm not coming from a place where a mermaid can't be black, because number one, mermaid lore has been found all over the world, right? So or things that are similar to it, right? That's weird, because I'll say maybe 98% of what we watch in terms of comic books or science fiction can actually happen based on science. Like, science disproves all of it. So if we're gonna start using science to disprove the existence of a fictional character, You're gonna have to do it for all of it, not just the things that you are ideologically opposed to. This is something that I saw. I think Matt Walsh did a whole thing about it, and he's like, science disproves it. Science disproves almost every nerd thing. So the same thing I'm gonna say to the other side, I gotta say to you, don't pick and choose when you wanna start entering in science and in logic. Like, I'm just a logical individual. Well, you weren't saying that for the other stuff. It was only when it became ideologically opposed to your thinking. There's that. Now, for me, it's a no-brainer to me because it's a mythological creature. Let's take Vlad the Impaler, Dracula, right? Oh, that's who Dracula is based off of. We know how Dracula looks. He's based off of an Eastern European guy. So, that doesn't mean there can't be really powerful black or whatever Asian vampires. Nobody said there can't be. I mean, Dracula is not even really the first vampire. So there could be older ones that could be from different places that could be even more powerful, or it doesn't even matter about more powerful. This means it doesn't have to be a vampire that's one specific race. We know that. We've seen that in a whole bunch of movies and stuff like that. But we know what Dracula, specifically that character. The same thing goes for Ariel. It's not about, at least for me and a lot of other people, can there be black mermaids? It's no, this specific character has looked a specific way, and it is what it is. So why not make something original? Like I said, they kind of did something similar with Luca. He wasn't really a mermaid, it was like a sea monster of some sort, but it was based in Italy, and they used Italian culture. It's kind of like the backdrop, and it was like a tale of two worlds kind of story. You could do the same thing, but just, maybe, like I said, go into Jamaica or something and talk about Port Royal and have pirates and make a cool adventure, make it a mystery, something. You could do something really, really cool. Go into Africa and based off of other lore, like their gods, and once again, create cool costumes, a cool song. I mean, look at Elsa, right? Frozen, which is based off of Scandinavian lore. People like it, had cool songs, stuff like that. You had Moana, cool songs, costume design. There seems to be a formula that it takes for a Disney film, especially for children, to be successful. And skin color usually isn't the common thing. It is just certain things. Well written, good songs, good design, cool merch. So this thing that, it can't happen if it's original. Now, it's not only the audiences that think that. Clearly, it's the studios that think this as well, because they're not doing it. But they know, because they're taking the path of least resistance for this particular community that constantly is I gotta be represented, and the only way I can be represented is by using a pre-existing white character and turning them this way, right? Which is strange. They go, all right, good. So now I don't have to work from scratch from you. I can just do this and pretty much capitalize off of a story that I've been telling for about 33 years or more. It's lazy, which is why I'm not for it. I'd rather the original characters, because once you make an original character stand the test of time, that's it. Now you can just reference that over and over and over again. They become iconic. Like I said, you have Frozen. I mean, that's going to be a thing forever. That'll probably get turned into live action eventually 20 years from now. Who knows, but it'll be its own thing. The same thing will probably happen with Moana. Same thing that happened with all the rest of them. So why can't there be something that's based off of African mythology or Caribbean mythology, which still had African roots by way of the diaspora? That's just my thoughts when it comes to it. Let me know what you think. Let's have a conversation. We can be respectful and disagree. Until then, enter the nerd.